Whose child are you?
I'm my mother's child. Simple as that. For me to answer now, but up until like 2 years ago, I would have answered that with my adoptive mother's name. Hi, Nicky.
Hey.
Hi. Special place for us. The first time we met was here.
I did a study at AFC in this building right here. Renate was the first person I met. All the people at the study has some sort of profession in healthcare or education.
AFC stands for Adoptee and Foster Care. It's all by trained adoptees themselves.
I'm raised in foster care in the Netherlands.
And I was adopted to Belgium when I was 4 months old. I was born in South Korea.
My sister is adopted and she is raised in the US. I have met her when I was 19.
Okay, it is October 20th, and we have Nicky. This is Laura's sister, who she's about to meet her sister for the first time.
I remember that you thought you came to understand your sister. You actually thought you should be more grateful than we were, because you could stay in the Netherlands and you grew up with family. It was so good to see that things grew on you, like that you were not out of place in our group, that you were impacted a lot also. And even after the course, they see and hear you saying things, doing things.
Last year I did a study for adoption and foster coaching, and I realized a lot of feelings came to the surface I had buried very far away.
You're standing up and to tell your story, to tell other people's story, and I'm a big fan.
With this group, we have an adoption and relinquishment awareness group in the Netherlands. It's called Divana. At AFC, I learned everything about adoption and relinquishment.
Well, people ask me about my biological parents. I always ask, like, what do you mean by biological? It's not like we're pineapple or some kind of fruit or vegetable. It's just my parents. You know, why do you have to say they're biologically? I know I came out of her, so. I know a therapist who told me for the first time, you only have one mother. How can you have two mothers, or how can you have another mother? And I had children at the time, and she was like, well, if your children would be raised by another woman, would she be their mother? I was like, no, I know I gave birth to them, so I'm their mother. I think there are great similarities. Both adoptees and children who grow up in foster care, they don't grow up within their own system. They're all relinquished and then moved to another place. We can say that the impact of these three things is kind of the same-ish impact.
And what is the impact?
How long have you got? When we see mental health statistics, they're 4 times more likely to commit suicide. There's a lot more adoptees going into psychiatric care, having an addiction. So that's more on a statistical level. I think a lot of adoptees can relate to adapt as much as you can in order to survive. I mean, there's a whole range of coping strategies we can apply. Not to be rejected again, like behavior problems, emotional, psychological, physical problems, attachment problems. But I think we actually grieve when we show we don't feel well.
How come the world is teaching us to be thankful?
Knowing stories like your mom couldn't take care of you, they were poor, she was an unwedded mom. So we all think that we come out of a situation that we were victims, lost, then it starts to grow on you. Like, I should be happy with the life that it's giving to me. Another reason can be the story is in the adoption files. In my adoption file was a sad story about my mom not being married to my father, and did believe that I would have had a bad mom that got pregnant all the time by men that she didn't know and then didn't take care of her kids. That's what I believe. She turned out to be married to my dad, have 3 other children, going through a difficult time in their life. The help shouldn't have consisted in taking their kid away forever and legally and to another country. It could have gone differently, I think.
So I think there needs to be way more education.
Well, we see that a lot of adopted or fostered people stop asking questions because they, one, don't want to be rejected again, and second of all, they feel very loyal to their adoptive family.
And the birth parents, that has a lot of grief and guilt, and you usually don't hear their stories because they are even more buried.
When I was 18, I studied psychology, and then I had a master's degree in anthropology, and I worked in juvenile care for 11 years. At certain points, I discovered that in mental health care, there's very, very, very few people with the knowledge about the impact on being relinquished, moved, and adopted. I started looking to courses on that. This is how I came to Adoptee and Fostercare, because they were the only organization in Belgium, the Netherlands, that gave such a course. My profession today is that I coach and counsel adoptees, people from foster care, and adoptive parents. There are so many layers in adoption and foster care. Such a complex issue. Often only know the dominant narrative about birth parents couldn't take care of their children, the children are saved by a rich white family. There's so much more to it. It's not that simple. You have the experience of so many people, you have adoption as a system, you have the financial aspect. Adoption is one word, but it means thousands of things. Quite a lot of adoptees and foster can relate to the confusion on whose child you are. Mostly we know in our heads that we weren't born from the woman we call our mother. Growing up, the woman didn't give birth to us. We think of her as our mother, and that's a really confusing and typical issue, because actually nature gives us one mother. If you can see and feel that, it's also so painful, because this person, she gave us away or she relinquished us. It took me like maybe 35 years to feel like that the woman who gave birth to me is my mother.
It was great to see her again and to share all the knowledge. I hope it turned out very well. But it was cold as well. So I'm glad getting home, getting all the footage together. I hope it turned out very well and the exposure is good and the sound is good. Now I go to my edit.